Hi, JMS. I'm Mrs. Montez, the principal, and I'm here with
Mr. Wilharm, Dean of Students.
And we're just here to talk to you guys a little bit about the expectations that we have, and then we'll get on to the welcome assembly for 6th graders. First of all, whether you're new to JMS or you're a returning student, you may have noticed some new signage around the building, and your teachers worked really hard to come up with these expectations. We are expecting that JMS Eagles are ready, respectful, responsible, and safe, and they will talk to you a little bit more about what these expectations are over the next couple of weeks. You also may have noticed that we have also adopted voice levels very similar to what they have at the elementary schools. Again, your teachers are going to go over these with you, but you will see staff members holding up either 0, 1, or 2, typically, when you are talking either in the hallways, cafeteria, or whatever. But these are consistent throughout the building as well. We will be still having the honor code because obviously it represents our collective commitments to each other about how we will behave when we're here at JMS. And at this time, Mr. Wilharm is going to talk a little bit about that.
Yep, the honor level system for 7th and 8th grade will be very similar to what you remember last year. For 6th grade, we will definitely take time and make sure you're aware of what the expectations are. Simply put, the honor level system is a way for our staff and our students to collectively have the same expectations and the same understanding of what the consequences will be if those expectations are not met. We anticipate that students will make the proper decisions as our year progresses. We look forward to the year when students are choosing to do the things that we ask them to do to make this a positive place for everyone. But there are times when we need to do the reminders, and we need to have the accountability for making choices that do not promote the positive image that we try to project. So when we do that, the honor level system becomes our system to do that. It gives us a chance to have it recorded and have a record of it, and it gives us a chance to be consistent so that you know what the outcomes will be. 2 big changes this year, and again, this will be for 7th and 8th grade, and 6th grade this won't be a change, but this is what you will be dealing with. We have eliminated the 1-point infractions. There will no longer be infractions for missing homework or being tardy to class or not bringing materials to class. The 1-point infractions. There were 4 of them. In addition to that, those 1-point infractions were the things that were always 15-minute noon consequences. So we also have eliminated the 15-minute noon consequence. So that's a pretty big change for us. There are many reasons that we did that. The underlying reason is we are looking at homework a little differently. We are going to have the same expectation that homework is done on a regular basis, but we're going to address it and expect the completion of that just a little differently. So there still will be the possibility of infraction for homework if it continues to not be completed, but on a daily basis, there will not be 1-point infractions for homework, and there will not be 15-minute noon consequences. So the progression of infractions will be 2 30-minute, then it will move to the after-school 25-minute and 40-minute mashes, and then the possibility of having in-school suspensions at some point still exists, but we may be looking at that differently as well. Our bottom line expectation this year is that we have less infractions. That's our goal. That's what we plan on. That's what we are expecting. That's what we're going to work towards. And I say this on behalf of all the staff. We generally have as our goal, one of our goals, to have less infractions this year. And eliminating the 1-point infractions is a way of us saying to you, we trust you. And we trust that there's going to be a change without having to use infractions to deal with those things. We think that we could deal with it in other ways. So we look forward to how that looks. I'm excited about that. I think that's a great change. I think it'll be good for our teaching staff. I think it'll be great for our students. And I'm just looking forward to how that looks as the year goes on. The other details with the honor level system remain the same. You don't want points. And remember, when I'm talking about the honor level system and getting points, every year that we've had the honor level system, we are always in the 60 to 75% range of students that never get an infraction. We want that to go up, and we're hoping that that will be the case this year as we look ahead. So the details remain the same after that, but the honor level system still is in place with those changes, and looking forward to a great year.
All right, thank you. Just a couple reminders before we get to the assembly. Just to remind you, we will go to advisories before we go to assemblies all the time. So it's really important that you get to your advisory on time because we will take attendance there and then we'll dismiss from there for assemblies. We'll always dismiss either live streaming this way or over the PA for assemblies, starting with the advisories that have the bleacher seats at the very top. Obviously that makes sense. Please just wait patiently for your advisory to be dismissed. Walk quietly down the hallway, and always when you're walking the hallway, the right side is the way to go. I know you guys aren't driving cars yet, but it's good to get in the habit of being on the right side. Sit in your assigned advisory bleacher spot, or sometimes when we're over in the high school auditorium, there's an assigned spot for your advisory over there. And then proper assembly etiquette, make sure you clap at appropriate times. Obviously, today we're going to welcome our 6th graders, and it's going to be loud, and we want to positively welcome them to JMS. No calling out individuals, don't make fun of others, no booing, nothing like that. Sometimes when we have assemblies, it's going to be a more serious topic, and in those situations, it might be appropriate to have a more quiet atmosphere. But assemblies like what we're going to be doing today and our fundraiser kickoff tomorrow, obviously there's going to be some fun parts of those assemblies, so we do expect that sometimes you will be loud, but again, it's positive, cheering, and clapping. Just a reminder, no hats or headgear, that includes hoods, make sure the hoods are down. And then at the end of the assembly, wait to be dismissed back to advisory. And when you are dismissed, go right back to your advisory on the right side of the hallways, because again, we'll be dismissing from there. At this time, I'm going to ask that the 6th graders with their advisory teachers please head to the choir room. I know previously it had been communicated that it would be the choir room and the band room, but the band room does have an advisory in it. So if the 6th grade teachers with their advisories could head to the choir room at this time, that would be great. You can turn off your live streaming and 6th graders can head there. 7th and 8th grade are going to hang out with us for just a little bit longer here, just to explain to you what to expect with the 6th grade welcome assembly.
While I have a moment, I want to let everyone know I talked to both the 7th and 8th grade girls today about volleyball starting on Thursday this week, practice starting Thursday. You'll see their first games on Tuesday the 18th. And cross country is in full swing. Mr. Koleski is in charge of cross country, so if you have any questions or concerns about cross country, please see Mr. Koleski. And with volleyball, come and see me if you have any questions. I'll speak for both Mrs. Stias and Ms. Harden if you have any questions regarding volleyball.
All right. Then just to briefly explain the assembly, and 8th graders and 7th graders, you guys that are returning probably know exactly what the drill is, but we're going to go over it just to make sure. So you will be dismissed by advisory down to the gym. So you'll take your seat in the bleachers for your advisory group. And then we will welcome in the 6th graders. They'll be lined up in the hallway, so we'll call them in one advisory at a time. And again, we're just standing, applauding, cheering for them. There'll be some music so we can have it pumped up a little bit, but welcoming them in. Once they're all in, everyone will take a seat, and we'll have a couple other announcements, and then you'll be dismissed back to your advisory from there. Is there anything I missed, or are we
Nope. Remember, we're practicing today the etiquette that we expect. We're going to use this right away tomorrow. We're having our fundraiser kickoff tomorrow. We'll be back in the gym tomorrow. So the things that we're practicing today, we're ready to use tomorrow, and we're going to show the fundraiser that the representative what a great job we can do in terms of putting our whole school into one place.
All right. Then at this time, we're going to start dismissing by grade level advisory. We'll start with Mr. Auer's 7th grade advisory and Mrs. Dresdo's 7th grade advisory. For 8th grade, we'll start with Mr. Altermat and Mrs. Baker. All right, next will be for 7th grade, Mrs. Walther and Mrs. Kelman. And for 8th grade, Mrs. Dinkle and Mr. Matuszewski. give those advisories just a couple minutes to get down there. Next groups to be dismissed, 7th grade, Mr. Koleski and Mrs. McKelvey. And 8th grade, Mr. Brooks and Miss Schrader. Seventh grade, Mr. Mooney and Mrs. Traver. And 8th grade, Mrs. Teets and Mr. Utrees. And then last but not least, 7th grade, Mrs. Van Meter and Mrs. Zukowski. And 8th grade, Mrs. Weisensel and Miss Clevin.